Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review video. Excuse me, and I can't believe that it's already fall. It's like, where has the time gone, honestly? So, I just not get rid of, but I gave most the books that I had for my book for this book review video to the thrift store. So, I don't have all the books. I only have 2 of them. So, the first book I'm going to get into is called Killing Kennedy. It's by Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard. I think that's how you say his name. I have the list right here, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. And you know, when you read, and maybe it's just me, but when you read a biography, and I'm not saying this is a biography, I don't know how you would describe this book. And this is the first book that I got from Bill O'Reilly in that kind of series that he does. And first of all, I just want to say that, you know, when you read a book about like a president or a biography or something along those lines, and they only focus on one thing throughout the whole book, and that's what they put the emphasis on most of the time. Well, in this book, it was about how JFK had affairs all the time. He was a ladies' man. And that's what the book centered on more than anything. So it takes place, the beginning of the book takes place like when he was in the armed forces, and he rescued his crewmates when they were in the PT boats. And then it takes place where he's president. And it takes place during the Bay of Pigs invasion. And basically it's his storyline, Jackie Kennedy's storyline, and of course, Oswald's storyline. And it takes place all the way up to when Kennedy dies. And then Lyndon Johnson is president. And then it talks about, at the end of the book, towards the end, it talks about each person that was in this book. Like, it talks about what happened to Jackie Kennedy, what happened to their children, what happened to Oswald, not Oswald, what happened to Jack Ruby, he killed Oswald. What happened to Oswald's kids and his wife and all these other people that were involved in what went on that day and the days afterward. So the second book was a book that it's kind of like, I don't know how, it's not really a book. Like, it was more like a comic book type of book, like a manga-esque type of book, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it. I seen Kara Amelie, she has a book channel where she loved these books, and they come out, like, I think once a year or something like that. And I didn't want to buy all the books in the set that came out that so far, because I didn't know how I was going to like it, because I don't really like reading graphic novels. I just think it's like, I just like reading a book with the words on the page. I know, I'm a plain Jane. I'm like, I don't know. That's just me. And it only took me a day to read this book. That's how short of a book it was, because most of the pages only had like one panel of a picture on it. And basically, it's kind of like how Kara described it, was a retelling of Persephone and Hades. And like I said, these came out around the time, I feel like, where it was either you had your 3 groups of books that were coming out. One was like the retold mythology books. One was the contemporary romance books. I forget what the other... Oh, and then the other section was books about World War II. Basically, that was all that there was out, like, for a while. And this book is called Lore Olympus. It's volume 1. It's by Rachel Smythe. I think that's how you say her name. This is what it looks like. And basically, like I said, there's just all these different, like, panels in the book. They're, like, colorful. It's about Hades and Persephone and them building a relationship. It also, at the end, had a plot twist in it. Because the whole book, I'm like, why does Kara like these books? I don't understand it. I really didn't think it was that good. And she rates these books so high when she reviews them. And then I read the ending and I'm like, that's why it had that plot twist in it at the end. And so I was on the fence about keeping this book because I'm like I said, I didn't want to get all the books in the series, not like it, and then give the books, like donate the books to a library or a thrift store, something like that. So I have the second one. I didn't read it for this set because I just wanted a little break. So I might read it in my next book review video. My next book review video, I'm trying to do like Halloween-esque books, which is probably going to be more mystery books than anything, to be honest. So the next book I also have. Now this book, a while ago, when the Flowers in the Attic series by V.C. Andrews got popular again because Lifetime made them into movies, they did a book where the one brother, the mother was poisoning the kids in the attic so she could get them out one by one to save them. Basically, that's like a part of the story. And here, what happens is the youngest son, they think, died. And here what happened is he actually didn't die, and he went on to live a somewhat okay life, I guess. And that was a book. And they never made a book, at least I haven't seen it, where it talks about his story and what happened to him after he got out of the attic. And I thought this was this book, and it's not. But it's called Out of the Attic. It's by V.C. Andrews. It's a Flowers in the Attic tie-in. And basically, you know, with V.C. Andrews books, where there's usually 5 books in a series, like in her earlier books. And the last book was always like a prequel to the whole storyline. Well, this book is a prequel to the prequel, basically. And it's about, Corinne and Garland. They were, Malcolm, he's the father in the Flowers in the Attic. Well, the grandfather to the Flowers in the Attic kids. And these are his parents' story. And this is what it looks like. And let me tell you, I read this book. And I forgot, V.C. Andrews books, if you don't know, the chapters are really lengthy in it. Like, you could seriously, like, chop the chapters in half. I don't care if it would have made the book, like, 40 more chapters or whatever. But it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, this chapter should have ended, but it keeps going. And basically, it's about Corinne's story, about how she marries into this Foxworth family when she's 16 because he got her pregnant. And she's basically trying to figure out her life. Like, where does she fit in this life? And she hears rumors about her husband, about he's having affairs. And her son doesn't really enjoy being in her company. And, it's basically like, I'm on the fence about keeping this book as well, because I'm like, nothing really exciting happened in this book. It wasn't like anything shocking happened in this book, because basically the whole gist of the storyline is like, Malcolm has this weird, twisted thing with his mother, but it's never mentioned in this book. And then Garland has the same thing. His father has the same thing about his mother. Like, he makes her personal assistant, or maid, I guess you would say, like, dress up as his mother and go into his mother's room. And that's it. Like, it's just, it's weird in that sense, but it's not like a V.C. Andrews twisted way, I guess, of explaining the story. Because I'm like, well, it never talks about what happened to Garland's mother to make him do those weird things, and it doesn't explain why in the book, like, Malcolm ends up being like that the same way that his dad is with his dead mom. and his mom. You know, it's just weird. It really wasn't that interesting to me. It's like you really didn't need a prequel to that whole series because the prequel does not do anything for me. So the next couple books, I don't have the books to them. So the next book is called Guns N' Roses. It's by Karen Kelly. And this is a Annie's in the Attic mystery series. And basically it's a series where there's this woman, Annie. She takes over, I think, her great aunt or great grandmother's house. She inherits it. And it's in this small little town. And every time she goes in the attic, she finds something in it that she has to, like, solve a mystery about. And basically, it's this, if I had the book, it would be easier to show. It's basically this thing that it has something to do with bagpipes. And here she takes this, I forget what they called it, this thing to the Highland games that they had. And I don't know if it was in their town or a town over or something like that. And people are just shrugging her off. And here, you know, she's trying to figure out who is this mystery clan that people don't want to talk about, everything like that. And it turns out it's about guns and the Roses, these two clans. And then at the end, she, by coincidence, she meets these people and they're part of these two clans. And it was a sad, when they told the story of what this thing was about, it was really sad. Like, that was the one storyline the one story in this whole series that was really had a sad kind of ending for why it ended up in her great grandmother's or grandmother's attic. So the next book is like a small little book. It's actually, I think it was meant for like preteens to read. It was called Spiros, the Ghost Phoenix. It was by Adam Blade. And it's a series. I have 3 of them. They're kind of like sci-fi kind of books. And basically it's about these 2 kids who, it's a series called like The Beast Quest. And they have to go on this quest to find a creature, which was the Phoenix, this ghost Phoenix, help them, and they run into their enemy, basically, and they have to fight this enemy and to save this Phoenix. And it was a nice little book. I mean, it was meant for like preteen people because like on some of the pages there was like pictures and stuff on it. Excuse me. And it had like a character sheet in the front of the book about like who are the characters, who are the creatures, so you knew what the creatures were in the book too, so you didn't have to like, you weren't that confused in the book. The next book, is called Crouching Buzzard, Leaping Loon. It's by Donna Andrews. And Donna Andrews, excuse me again, I can't stop burping. She writes books that are punny titles. And this was a Meg Laszlo mystery book. Now this book, it's just, I felt like I usually like Donna Andrews' books, especially the Meg Laszlo books. And for some reason, I did not like this book. It dragged on and on and on. It was too long. You know when I say, when a mystery book is like over 200 pages or like 250 pages, that just means like, the book's gonna drag on. A mystery book should not be over 300 pages, in my opinion. That's just me, because I feel like it drags on and on and on. And she's basically in this book, Meg's working at her brother's computer game company because she hurt herself doing her blacksmith stuff, and for some reason they have a buzzard, I think that's what they called it in the book, in there, like that's a bird of prey in their lobby. And it was just a weird book. It was just a weird book in general, where this male man who pushes this cart throughout the building, they have to share the building with these psychiatrists. He ends up dying, and she has to figure out, well, what happened to him. And it just goes on this strange strange adventure of, well, then they think her brother did it. They think these other people did it. It was just a strange book. And it, like, her books are kind of odd in a way, but this book was just really strange. And like I said, it just felt like it went on and on and on. It felt like they were just doing little storylines. It did not have to deal with what happened in the book to this man until like maybe 2/3 of the way through the book. So last but not least, the next book I read was kind of like a Halloween-esque book. I got it at the library, and it was called Vampires, Bones, and Treacle Scones. It's by Kaitlyn Dumett. I think that's how you say her last name. And it was like it was a series. I never read this series. Basically, it was in this small little town. They were getting ready for Halloween. They were going to go into this decrepit house and make this house, old Victorian mansion kind of house, I think, into this haunted house. And when they get there, there's a dead person actually in the house. And the woman in the book, she is Scottish. She owns this Scottish emporium in this book. And I thought the whole book was going to be in Scotland, because I thought, oh, that would be a cool mystery series, you know? And no, it was in a small town in Maine. That's the first thing that I got disappointed in, because I'm like, oh, it's in Scotland, something different. But no, and then her, I think it was her great aunt or aunt, something like that, they end up, they live together, and they both have Scottish, they're both Scottish descent, and they have to solve this mystery, basically. And in this book, I never read a book by Kaitlyn Dumett before, so I don't know. And then, like I was going to say, well, if I like this book, I was going to get more books out of the library from this author. And it was just okay. Like, what I hate is when they say, and it's in the front of this book, it looks Halloween-y. So you think, oh, the whole book, it's about Halloween. No. The first, like, couple chapters, when that person dies, after that, it's done being Halloween. Like, after the first, like, maybe three or four chapters. And then it talks about, well, the mystery doesn't get solved, and it's, like, halfway through next year. It's, like, in the springtime of next year when her aunt decides, hey, you need to look into this because nobody knows why, nobody has a clue what's going on or what happened to him or why he was there and all this stuff. So basically, I hate when books are like that, where it says it's a Christmas book, it says it's a Halloween book, it says it's an Easter book, and it's not. Like, it's either at the very beginning or the very end of the book, and then that's it. And I do not like that. Like, if I want to read a Halloween book, I want to read a Halloween book that has Halloween in it throughout the whole book. And with this book, too, it was another thing of, I forget how many pages were in it, but it was where it was basically like running as a normal story after this person dies. And then they were just running with a different storyline until maybe, like, again, 2/3 through the book. And they're like, oh, yeah, we have to figure out who did it to this guy. And I don't know. That's just my opinion. So that was my book review video for this month. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And stay tuned for my, I was going to say Christmas book review video. Stay tuned for my Halloween video.